So it's 4:01. Maybe we'll start in a couple of seconds. I want to just remind everyone that there is a chat component that if you want to ask questions, you can just click on the chat button on the bottom and you can ask your question to everyone. This way, when we are doing the Q&A, we'll have your question up there. Okay, so 4:01, we're getting more people calling in now. Okay, I think we can start. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first webinar. We've never done this before. With the COVID-19, I think desperate times call for new measures, I guess, and we have to adapt to the new style of doing things. So like, as I mentioned, that there is a chat option in the bottom where you can ask your questions when we do the Q&A. My name is Suzanne Akhras Sahlul. I'm the Executive Director of Syrian Community Network, and I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar. And with us is our wonderful staff. We have Maya Tassi, who's our Deputy Director. We have Emily Kane, who's our Education Director. Rama Atiya, who's our Senior Case Manager in the West Suburbs. We have Al Peters, who's our Case Manager in the North Side. Amr Othman Agha, who's also our Case Manager in the North Side. And then we have Amanda Asali, who is also our After School Coordinator. And I do see that our board member, Brad Zibang, is also on the video call. And I'm looking to see if there are any other board members. They're coming in now. So again, I welcome all of you to our first ever webinar, and peace and salam to all of you. Thank you for joining us and spending your Friday afternoon with us. We are grateful and honored that you all tuned in, and we want to take this time to wish everyone not only a happy Friday, but happy Good Friday and happy Easter weekend and happy Passover for all of those who are celebrating the holidays right now. And we know that the holidays are a time of reflection and family get-togethers, even if it is over Zoom right now. And in 13 days, we're going to be celebrating the start of Ramadan. And if you're not familiar with Ramadan, this is when Muslims across the globe fast for 30 days from dawn until sunset. And we're proud to work with all of the faith traditions because it is through our shared values of serving refugees that brings us all together in this space. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have all had to reinvent the way we work and do things. And I'm sure that you all have had to adapt to the new normal. And hopefully you are adhering to the social distancing and following Mayor Lightfoot's instructions and your local mayors and governors in case you're not in the Chicago area. And then tuning in. We are celebrating our 5th year in service to the refugee and immigrant community, and we're very proud. And we were all, excited to celebrate this year. But with the COVID-19, we feel like we will postpone a little bit our celebrations, just to adhere to all of the things that are happening and to be sensitive to everyone. But we want to thank everyone who has stood with us, supported us, volunteered with us, gave us advice, has been there for us at a time when the world ignored the plight of refugees, especially in Syria, what was happening in Syria. But when that picture of Aylan Kurdi came out 5 years ago, and the world was really mobilized and everyone wanted to help, we started the organization and we started to serve the local refugees that were coming in from Syria. And we grew the organization together, one program at a time. And we started with the Mentorship Program, and I know I have some slides coming in. If you can, Sana, if you can share the screen at this time. So we started in the beginning, many of you asked us, how can we help our local refugees? And so we started with start with the first slide, Sana, please, with the mentorship. Just go back one. We started with our mentorship program, and this is the time when we hired Maya, and she started to connect families to refugee families, families around the Chicagoland area who wanted to help. And this is Ryan, one of our mentors. And many of you participated with our organization through our e-drives. Many of you helped purchase gifts for the children. and we were able to support the kids during the holiday, the Eid holiday that comes right after Ramadan. Next, Sana. Oops, Sana. Okay, and so one of the first programs that another program that we started was our case management program, and through the support of ICER, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant Refugee Rights, we were funded to do case management, and through our case management, we created a workplace development and certificate programs. Next slide, and then also we had, next slide, please. We also did awareness and teen focus groups and health awareness workshops. And then also we got funded, next slide. We got funded also to do the Women at the Wheel program, where we were able to offer driving instruction in Arabic for women, so in order to get their driver's license. This is Iman, where she received her driver's license. Next. And then also through our case management program, we also do an elderly program where we gather the elders, have them attend a workshop. We've done some field trips with them and lunches. And then now we will be doing a formal program for Arabic speaking elders with our partner organization, MIRA. So we're very proud to be now have an official elderly program within SCN. Next. And then another program that we started was our after school program. So our education department, and so I'll let Emily speak about our after school program in a minute. So we have our after school program, and then also we started the women's ESL. Next slide, Sana. Our women's ESL that that is part of our education program. Next slide. And then one of the things that we're extremely proud of is that we received partial accreditation through the Department of Justice to be able to do immigration related work where we apply for green cards for our clients and citizenship. And this is something that we hope to grow in the coming months so that we can have a formal program with our immigration department. Next. And of course, we do a lot of advocacy. This is a picture that we took in 2015 when we went to Washington, D.C. During the Obama administration, asking President Obama to increase the numbers of refugees. So typically we the U.S. resettles 75,000 a year, but President Obama in his last year raised it to 110,000. And this is Shahid. She was 8 years old and reading a statement asking President Obama to resettle more children like her to the U.S. Next. And then, of course, with all of the advocacy and all of the new restrictions that have come upon refugee resettlement program, President Trump lowering the numbers of refugees coming to the United States, including the travel ban. And so we feel it is our duty to speak out, rally our congressmen and women and senators and faith leaders to speak out against this new order, which goes against our values as Americans and against our values as, a people of faith. Next slide. And we published a report this past fall where we talked about, we did stories about refugee resettlement, Syrian refugee resettlement in particular, the challenges, the successes, the community response, and we also added some policy recommendations as well. And that report, you can find it on our website. Next. And of course, as you know, we suffered a major setback last year. There was a fire in our building, and this was what was the result of after the fire department put out the fire. But luckily, and through your support and your help, we were able to go back to our space. This bottom space became our program space for our after-school program and for workshops. And upstairs, we also rented this space upstairs so that we can conduct our management and all of our other private counseling sessions with our clients upstairs. And many of you who attended our open house this past December got to see what the space looks like. Next slide. And of course, we're always very proud of all of the awards, proud and humbled really from the awards that we have received over the past 5 years. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky invited us to be her guest at the State of the Union in response to the travel ban. The Illinois Coalition for Immigrant Refugee Rights, the Humanitarian Award, and UNICEF Chicago Humanitarian Award, and of course the Adler University New Pioneer Spark Award for our after-school program that you'll hear about from Emily. Next slide. And of course, as you know, the road to success is always under construction. We will go through many tribulations and hardships as we are going now. And with this COVID-19, this is not the first pandemic that we as Americans have faced. Maybe in our generation, this is the first time, but we hope that this will be the last time. So thank you so much for being with us on this journey for the past 5 years, for many of you who have been so supportive, volunteering your time and donating and doing all that you can to support our community's refugees. And now I want to turn it over to Maya Atassi, our Deputy Director, and she can talk about what we have been doing now specifically with the COVID-19.
Hi everyone, welcome. Can everyone hear me? As Suzanne mentioned, my name is Maya Atassi. I'm the Deputy Director of Steering Community Network. Part of my responsibility includes overseeing the various programs within the organization and providing support to the staff in whatever way I can. So as Suzanne mentioned, when we were conducting business as usual, those programs included case management, divided both into direct services, as well as workshops with family well-being, adult and youth education, immigration, and advocacy. So on March 17th, as Chicago Public Schools made the move to close schools, SDN staff began working remotely to abide by the guidelines of social distancing. The families we serve are some of the most vulnerable members of the population, immigrants and refugees. They lack the knowledge, resources, and most importantly, the language needed to maneuver the complicated infrastructures of the U.S. Public benefits, unemployment, the process of applying, and everything that goes with it can sound like a foreign language to any of us for whom English is our first language. So imagine if English was not your first language. Now with the events that are unfolding, these families are poised to face further insecurities and hardships. Over the last few weeks, we have prioritized certain issues in an effort to triage families' needs as they come. Those include applying for unemployment insurance for those family members laid off from work to ensure that some income continues to flow, ensuring that food, cash, and medical benefits are active and that the Illinois Department of Human Services is up to date with the family's current economic situation and can adjust their benefit amounts accordingly. And finally, ensuring families are kept apprised of the rapid changes to the world around them and addressing any questions that may arise in the process. So I'm going to share my screen here. So if everyone can see that. So since the week ending in March 20th, we have filed 49 claims for unemployment insurance, submitted 80 requests to the Illinois Department of Human Services, 59 of them being reporting changes to update families' cases to reflect lost wages, and 29 of those applications to add new benefits. With such a rapid influx of changes taking place, families would find themselves lost as they try to adapt to this new world. The case management staff are providing the language and access to ensure that they maintain stability for as long as possible. Staff efforts also include constantly doing outreach in both Arabic and English to keep families informed on the following issues. Clarifying what social distancing expectations are, explaining the rules surrounding the governor's shelter-in-place order, and what actions could be considered offenses that warrant a fine per the mayor's office. Offering reassurances that they cannot be evicted or issued an eviction notice if they are unable to pay their rent, nor do they need to fear utilities being shut off if they cannot make those payments. The most important expenses they need are those to provide food and shelter and medicine to their families. Also including interpreting the federal stimulus package and explaining what benefits they can expect to receive, whether it's the form of a payment via check or direct deposit, the additional unemployment insurance payment amounts, updated USDA guidelines that will award SNAP recipients the maximum amount allowed for a household. And still to come are updated guidelines from the Illinois Department of Employment Services regarding the application and qualification process for the self-employed, or quote unquote gig workers as they're called, like barbers, Uber, and Lyft drivers, to be able to file unemployment claims themselves, because previously that group of employees was ineligible. And they actually comprise about 40% of our families in terms of the sources of income that they provide. We will continue to provide the relevant information in both Arabic and English over the weeks to come to help families continue to feel as supported as possible. And now I'm going to turn it over to Emily Kane, our Education Director, to discuss how the Education Department has adapted to serving families over the last few weeks. Emily?
Oops, she's still muted.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Kane, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how our program looks normally before I talk about how we've evolved to meet the needs of our students during this time. So I'm the Education Director. That means that I get to oversee our education oriented programs, and a huge part of that is our youth programs. I do not do that alone. Amanda, who is also here, she's our youth coordinator, and she runs the program alongside me. And so I'm going to share my screen here to be able to show you a little bit about what we do. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So to give you a little bit of background, so youth programming at SCN, we have 3 main programs that we run, and we really try to have a comprehensive approach that fosters health, happiness, and of course, academic success of our youth. We're really fortunate that we're able to do that year round and in successive years. My favorite part of my job is that I get to see students year after year. They don't necessarily go to a new class, so we have students that are finishing up their 2nd year with us, and that's a lot of time. So we really get to know our students, which is just really a privilege in order to create the best programming for them. So the 3 main programs that we have, so the first program is our after school program. And before the COVID pandemic, our after school program ran Monday through Thursday after school. We have drivers that are hired within our community that pick up our students, bring them to our community space in Edgewater, and then they actually have rides home as well. Our after school program really focuses on a few different things. So we do supplemental academic support. We really have tried to grow our social emotional development in the last probably school year. That's something I'm really proud of. I'll talk about in a second. And then we also have a lot of play-based and exploratory learning. These are all things that we're working on, things that we are really proud of. But of course, as Suzanne said, we are always growing. And one of the things that we did right before we had to close our doors, we partnered with Asian Human Services, and we've started providing group therapy within our program space once a week. And so that's a partnership we're really, really excited to get back to when we return. We don't provide any mental health services through SCN, it's all through partnerships. And so we're really, really excited that they decided to join up with us. And so we have a group of 2nd graders that attend group therapy every week. And we'd like to see that grow. We also just know that many of our students, and I'm going to talk about why this affects remote learning as well, but many of our students face tremendous barriers. So we know that language, social isolation, poverty, and then just navigating the school system in general can be really, really challenging for any parent, but particularly for parents that maybe don't share the same first language as their administration or their teachers. So another program that we have is our tutoring program. And this is a program that actually meets in the homes of our families and our students. We pair tutors that meet once a week in the homes and work primarily on academic based topics. So They might support a student in a particular subject. They might work specifically on English as a language. It kind of depends on what the needs of the students are, and then also what the age of the students are as well. I did not mention that our after-school program is kindergarten through 6th grade. And so tutoring program really came from a place that we know we have older students, middle school and high school students that might need more rigorous academic support. And so this is something that kind of came out of that. And some of our students, we have a couple of students that actually participate in both programs. And so have a tutor that comes to their home, but they also come to our after school program as well. And then finally, our third program is our summer programming. So this was something that has kind of evolved. The official launch of it was last year, although we've done lots of workshops in prior summers as well. But we kind of formalized it and made it also grades K through 6. And we do a lot of Arabic and English literacy workshops, but as well as extracurricular workshops, and really just strive to create a safe space in the summer where kids could still engage in the community that we have throughout the school year, but maybe do a few things that we don't always have time for when we're working on homework after school. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we have shifted our programming in the time of remote learning. So starting on Monday, April 13th, all of CPS is officially launching a remote learning curriculum. This looks like totally different in different schools. It looks really different from classroom to classroom. And prior to that announcement, the mayor announcing that we were going to have official remote learning, there was kind of a lot of inconsistency of if students were getting homework those first 2 weeks they were home, if they weren't. As a parent myself, it became really hard to entertain children all day. And so one of the things that we wanted to do and provide was just an academic respite for parents, but also a way for our students to continue learning. And so we have 24 students that are enrolled in online tutoring that were in our after school program. They receive 2 hours of tutoring a week, one-on-one through video. So we average about 48 hours of tutoring, of one-on-one tutoring a week, which is something we're really, really proud of, that we've been able to turn around and provide just kind of some specific academic support. But that wasn't really the only goal that we had in launching online tutoring. So there were really 4 items that we were concentrating on. So the first, I'm looking at the colored bullet points right here. So the first is that we wanted to bridge parent-teacher communication. Like I said, what CPS was providing and what our different schools and teachers were providing really varied. The platforms that are being used are really vary, and the resources that are being used really vary. And so we wanted to make sure that while all of these resources and platforms were kind of being launched and thrown very quickly at our families, that there was someone there to navigate and to help when logins to Google Classroom don't work, or when internet becomes a barrier, and so things like that. So we really wanted to bridge parent-teacher communication, but not only for that, also to make sure that the objectives and the things that our students were focusing on during the school day was being carried out, or was being carried out as much as it can be at home. And so that kind of goes to my next point, which is providing individual academic support. So what has been really kind of a blessing in this, I was talking to Brad, one of our board members this morning. He's going to be tutoring for us as well. And I was chatting with him about there are certain things that I will miss when we are back in our space, because we're able to really have 2 hours of face-to-face time with our students and provide really specific activities depending on each student's needs. And that's something that has been kind of an unexpected positive in all of this, is that there has been a lot of supplemental work going on, which has been really great. Obviously, we want to keep our students actively learning, but then I think what is not lost on any of us is that maintaining the health and happiness of our youth and of our community is really, really important. It's very easy in this self-isolation to feel anxious and down. And so making sure that our students have kind of just that social outlet with someone outside of their home is is really important. And I suspect that the tutors, at least myself, enjoy and need that as much as our students do as well. And then finally, I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of the how are we doing this. It has been a troubleshooting week. We have had a lot of technological challenges, and a lot of creative solutions have been made with our tutoring team. I didn't mention, so we have 2 staff members, myself and Amanda, that do this, but we also have a team of interns, a couple of volunteers, and a board member that are all on our tutoring team. And so we could not do this alone. We use WhatsApp and FaceTime typically to video our students. Parents are super involved. A lot of times I have parents sitting there participating in the tutoring session as well, helping troubleshoot different technological challenges. And then in terms of the platforms that we're using from teachers are using Google Classroom, Reading A to Z. It's basically, if you're a teacher, you're probably familiar. It's a website where you're able to have differentiated books at different reading levels for students. And so it's really nice for just quick access to the right level text. Compass Learning, Reflex Math, Khan Academy, these are all things that if you have students that are e-learning in your home, that you probably are familiar with these words. We also just sometimes have students that are picking up packets from the school. The schools are still open, and because not all of our CPS students have access to technology, our schools are required to print and have kind of an offline option for all of our students. The majority of our students have been connected to technology, but we're still troubleshooting a couple of cases. And so that means that we have to send photos prior to the tutoring session starting, and then I might look at the soft copy on my laptop while I have Ayub on my screen on my phone, and so that kind of makes it possible for us to be able to see what our students are seeing. And then another just tool that we've had teachers use are different lessons via YouTube videos as well. Since April 1st, so we started Wednesday, April 1st, we've had 55 hours of tutoring logged. That number is going up because we've had a couple of students that have been connected to internet since that happened. And so we're really excited to see that average be about 50 hours a week. And then, like I already mentioned, CPS remote learning officially starts on Monday. This week has been technically spring break. So everything that we've done is either stuff that teachers have been providing before or things that we've created. So on Monday, that's when the real kind of remote learning curriculum will begin. And so it's been a lot of setting students up for success so that Monday we can start our new normal. So I'm going to actually pass it back to Suzanne now, and I think we're going to open it up for questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Maya. I also want to give a shout out to Sana Al-Hamoud, who's managing the behind the scenes tech. So hi, Sana, just say hi to everybody. I wanted to acknowledge that you were on the phone also.
Hi, thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Sana does all of our e-newsletters and our website management. So you can, so she's great at everything. I just want to remind you to add your questions on the chat. If you go down to the chat button on the bottom of your screens, you can click on it and then go through and then write your question, and feel free to ask us anything, and we'll be happy to respond as best as we can. And if you feel that you want to ask a question in person instead of writing it, just wave to us, and we'll, Sana can unmute you. And I see. So if you, unless you feel more comfortable in writing your question in the chat button. And I do want to acknowledge someone who's here. Let me see, Ali Jindi from Oxfam America. The report that I mentioned about the advocacy report, the Still Welcome, the stories of Syrian refugees in America. This report was funded through Oxfam America. So thank you, Ali, for always supporting our work, always.
It's a pleasure, Suzanne. Thank you so much, and keep doing your great job.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
We have a question from Abdullah. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, and thank you for the nice presentation. Just wondering if I want to know more about volunteering opportunities to help the kids and tutoring. How can I learn about it?
I can answer that question. So currently through our online tutoring right now, we're primarily working with tutors and volunteers that are familiar and know our families and students, since making calls into homes can be a kind of intimate experience. And so we want to make sure that our families feel comfortable. And we also at this time, with how quickly and rapidly things are changing, the requirements that we're asking our volunteers to meet are also quickly and rapidly changing. And so we want to make sure before we onboard any new volunteers that we really have a robust way to make sure that folks feel supported, especially because we're remote. And so that's something that we kind of have a pin in right now, and we're going to come back to if indeed this does continue through the summer. One thing though that I do want to mention is we are always really looking for volunteers in our after school program. And when our after school program and hopefully when our summer program starts, we're definitely looking for volunteers. And the time spent that we would usually be recruiting volunteers right now, even for the fall, we would start recruiting in the fall. We're really not being able, we don't have the time or the capacity to do that right now. And so that is definitely something that I would appreciate everyone kind of keeping their eyes out for, because we're going to have to really rapidly grow our volunteer team when we're back in our space.
Rana Raddawi asked a question. Hi everyone, thanks for the insightful webinar. Could you please tell us if there are any cases of COVID-19 among the Syrian refugees in Chicago or in the US at large? Rana, thank you for your question. At this time, we have not heard of any cases, unless my case managers know more than I do, because they're more in touch with the clients. But we have not heard that there are any cases. I want to, highlight some of the ways that we communicate with the clients. Maya, do you want to talk about how we communicate with the clients specifically through the Arabic WhatsApp, and then Ahmed also can weigh in also on the translations that we do.
Yeah, so I know that Al and Rama and Amr can probably speak to this a little more than I can, but our main mode of communication with the families is we have a WhatsApp group that has, it's kind of a broadcast list of all the families that we service, and that's where we post many of the important updates that we have, the ones I mentioned when I was speaking regarding things that are going on, best practices, just anything that needs to keep them informed as well. And then we also have an Arabic language Facebook page that is geared directly towards client engagement. So that's mainly meant for the families. Obviously, we have people who follow that page who are not necessarily clients of ours, but we feel like it's a good way to keep people informed in a mass way. Does anyone want to add anything? Al or Amr or Rama, do you guys want to add anything to that? Yeah, so our efforts to do outreach have mainly, we're trying to be very vigilant when we do the outreach, just because we recognize that
Can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I think I'm having an unstable internet connection, but okay. I just wanted to say about the translation, and not to repeat what Maya's been saying, but a big part of the case management task since this began has been keeping up to speed with a situation that's changing often by the hour. So for example, on Monday, March 16th, the Illinois Department of Employment Security office was open. We had clients attending there. On the 17th, on the Tuesday, it closed all throughout Chicago, and all unemployment applications had to be done online or over the phone. Very quickly, we found out that the phone lines were overwhelmed, and that certain applications were being divided by day. Then there was new rules that Maya's talked about with the stimulus package for unemployment. All of this came with a fair amount of policy literature, which isn't the easiest thing to read and understand. So we've been constantly translating that into a sort of more palatable format, simplifying and taking the most relevant points and distributing it on the WhatsApp group list, which has in excess of 250 subscribers that I can see. So as well as the Facebook page, I don't know how many followers there are on that.
We do have one other question from Sean Len. Are the resettlement agencies doing any support? I've had students whose families clearly don't understand what's going on.
So I know that at the resettlement level, there's a weekly meeting taking place where a lot of the mutual aids and the refugee resettlement organizations are meeting to discuss best practices related to both working from home, but also kind of troubleshooting issues specifically related to clients. And yeah, we have heard concerns among different organizations stating that they feel like there's still some clients who aren't really sure what's going on, and that's kind of why we're trying to be as vigilant as possible to try to get the word out there. We're also working on the side, we're working with Mira and with Reach, because just to, again, discuss and make sure that families understand what kind of social distancing practices they need to be taking to take precautions, but also mainly if in the event that a family member were to get sick, what would be the best practice for how to proceed moving forward, how to make sure that that family member gets the medical attention that they need, but also just how do you self-isolate with a family when you're living in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment and you're a family of 5 people. Oftentimes, common areas are used as bedrooms for children, so it's difficult to self-isolate when your living quarters are so small. So that's kind of why we're trying to make sure that we spread as much information as possible so that people are as aware, and just even doing one-on-one contact with clients as questions come up and concerns. I had a couple of clients asking me over the phone, I heard about the mayor's order, the governor's order. Does that mean I'll get arrested if I leave the house? And it's just kind of doing the constant engagement and just letting them feel confident and comfortable with the fact that it's no, you won't get arrested, but try to limit your leaving the house as much as possible, only for essential needs and services.
I want to ask, maybe pivot to Rama to tell us also how she has been working with the clients in the West Suburbs in terms of case management and translating all of the information and sending it out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rama, and I am the case manager on the West Suburbs for the West Suburb families and the South Suburban families. It's been really overwhelming for a lot of the families, just with the calls coming in one by one. I think for the most part, it's just a lot of the questions. They're not sure. They just need reassurance. They need somebody to kind of like make them feel a little bit more safe as far as what the future holds. Are they going back to their jobs? There's also a lot of questions about paying the rent. Well, what if my landlord comes and asks me about my rent? What do I do? So it's just basically following up with them. And like Maya mentioned, a lot of it is one-on-one phone calls, just answering questions. Since March 17th, I would say, like you've seen earlier, the majority of our calls was to change their income and their benefits to help them apply for unemployment. Since the offices are closed, they have no other way of getting to these offices. So it's been overwhelming number of calls from clients. And I know I'm getting a lot of new clients that are also calling because they heard that, we are doing these services remotely and there isn't any offices that they can go to. So it's been, it's been really nice to have them be able to call and, just get reassurance and, feel that they can come to us and ask us about these questions that they have or concerns. And they even, have questions about what benefits are available for them, at this time. So there's a lot of confusion and misconception about what, services there are for these self-employed clients, for example. For Uber drivers, that's a big thing. And that's a high number of our clients, work from Uber or Lyft. And so there's a lot of questions on that. And we're constantly just giving them any of the new information as we receive it, like Al mentioned. So it's been overwhelming with calls, but I'm glad that we're here for them whenever they need us. They call us, they message us, and then I have a few group chats that I have for the West suburban families, where as soon as Amir translates any of the updates for us, we let them know right away. So I like the idea. I like the fact that we're keeping them updated about everything as it comes in. We're letting them know about it, and so far it's been really good.
Thank you, Rama. Amir, I know Amir. We want to hear from you how he is our translator in chief. We give him anything in Arabic, and or in English, I should say, and then he quickly translates it in Arabic, and he's the one who updates the Arabic Facebook. So, do you want to say hi, Amir?
Yeah, hi. I'm trying always to be in touch with the families, trying to translate everything and keep them updated. Now I started last week on Sunday or Saturday to call old people, elderly people, to ask about their situation, their health, if they need help. Because last week someone called me and he told me I cannot get my stuff from the grocery because I'm afraid of that. I told him, if you want, sometime you can call me. If I can get you your stuff and deliver them to your house. Yeah, and for the Facebook and WhatsApp, I'm trying always to translate everything and send them to Elle or post them immediately on Facebook.
And then also we have Amanda. She not only coordinates the after school, but has also been, has really shown a lot of leadership and wearing multiple hats lately. She's been doing case management, and she's helping us with some of the language for the graphics. So I'm going to have Amanda give an opportunity for Amanda to speak.
Hi. Yeah, it's kind of been a whirlwind just trying to, for everybody getting our organization, just like switching into this remote working situation. And I know everybody is working from home now, but a huge part of what we've been doing the past few weeks is just emailing every teacher and trying to collect all the information we can for building out the online tutoring. A lot of, like, as Emily said, a lot of the teachers are using many different platforms, RazKids, Blooms, Google Classrooms, and teachers are emailing their students, but their students don't have login, like the username or passwords for their CPS emails, especially our kind of like third grade and younger students. It's really hard for them to get into emails. Our teachers are emailing parents, but there's a language barrier. So a lot of what we've been doing is kind of parsing through all the different resources and making them accessible and organizing them into lesson plans for each tutoring session. And now that it's, I don't know, it's really come together this past week, and I'm really excited, like Emily said, to get to spend one-on-one time with students for 2 hours a week. And there's 11 weeks left of the CPS calendar, so we kind of have a long way to go, but I'm excited for it.
That's wonderful. Does anybody have any questions? I know we have, okay, let's see, we have a couple of recommendations. We have one, let's see. We do have, let's see, Carrie, is there an issue related to where clients are accessing food, both in Chicago and in the west suburbs? Anybody want to take that question?
Um,
Go ahead. Yeah.
oh, okay. Hi. I'm not sure whether you mean accessing food, obtaining food in terms of managing to pay for it from work, but or rather the actual physical acquisition of food. If it's the former, one of the important things that we've been updating clients on, as mentioned, is the new policy to award all SNAP recipients in Illinois the maximum benefits for a family or a SNAP unit, I should say, of that size. With regards to the actual going to the store and obtaining it, I haven't heard anything from any of my clients about having difficulties with that, with the proviso that we have been advising everybody to observe rigorously social distancing protocols, wearing masks and gloves, washing hands and avoiding close contact with anybody else.
I also want to add that I think with the families that I work with, a lot of them already are connected with food pantries that are still calling and getting their food from the food pantries. And I actually spoke to somebody yesterday who's in the south suburbs from the Moss Foundation Food Pantry. They called, they're already, we're working on organizing something to pass out for a few of the families in the west suburbs. But I haven't had anybody come to me and, discuss anything about, food or they need help with getting food. Like Al mentioned, we're trying to help them change their benefits, their SNAP benefits, so that they can get the maximum amount. So it will be easier for them and help them provide, food on their table, making sure that everybody that did lose their job or have reduced hours, that they do these applications so that they can increase their SNAP benefits. But I haven't had anybody discuss that with me or complain about that they don't have food or anything in their home.
There's a question about the public charge rule. So by and large, we do not have very many clients who are eligible for the public charge rule, as you've pointed out, being as they are humanitarian status entrants to the US. But we have been made aware by PIF, Protecting Immigrant Families, as well as ISA, that's the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights. Just to sort of briefly summarize, I understand that there is a waiver for Medicaid services used explicitly for COVID testing and treatment that aren't considered for the public charge rule. Now, exactly how the USCIS or Department of State in the instance of a visa are going to determine whether Medicaid was used exclusively in relation to COVID-19, it's not entirely clear to me, and that's like a fairly fine issue. But other than that, I'm not really. I would point you towards PIF. They will be keep everyone updated on how the COVID impacts the public charge and other immigration legal issues.
We do have one recommendation from Diana, where she is saying if you wanted to ask a scientist, she would be happy to set up something as a useful resource in Arabic or in English. So just a disclaimer, Diana is my daughter-in-law, so don't want to, but just to make sure everybody knows that. And then another question was from Sohaila Nabil Said. Sohaila used to be a former board member, and now she's one of our on our advisory board. She moved to, she's in the Washington, D.C. area, and she's asking if we're going to be hosting any events in Ramadan. We are thinking about hosting something in Ramadan. So we'll once we have the details, we'll let you know about them, and we'll send them through e-news and other means also. Let's see. Will this be recorded? Yes, we will send the recording to you. Someone who, yeah, she logged off. Yes. Does anyone want to ask a question without writing in the chat box? I know we have a few people maybe who would like to unmute themselves and can ask a question if they like. Or feel free to, share recommendations or anything like that. We'd love to hear from you. In case you were trying to speak, you can unmute yourself and let us know that if you have a recommendation or anything. Okay, anyone? Last opportunity. Maybe Zaina or Brad, who are our board members, can, Zaina, would you like to say something, or Brad would like to say something? Please, by all means. We'd love to hear from you, Brad, since you're an after-school program regular.
Sure. I personally have really been missing the after-school program, and I had a call earlier today with Emily, as she mentioned, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, I do agree that, and Emily, as you mentioned, the eventual need for more volunteers, and we can, I think, do a good push around that because, I'm excited to do it, and I know we're all dealing with the quarantine, right? So it goes both ways, the benefits that can be had from this, and I'm really looking forward to hanging out with Omar.
That's great. Zaina, would you like to say anything? So both Brad and Zaina are new board members that have joined this past fall. And we're really lucky to have them. And if anybody has any more questions, thank you, Danny, for your nice words. We appreciate it. And thank you for your support and for tuning in. Do we have members helping refugees overseas? We don't do any international work. Our focus is mainly here in Chicago and in the US, doing advocacy and services, direct services here in our local community. But there are many great organizations that we can recommend that are doing international work. One of them is medglobal.org. Another one is the Syrian American Medical Society, which is SAMS. There's another one called Rahma Worldwide that is doing international work. So they do work in Greece, Lebanon, parts of Syria, the northern part of Syria for refugee work, and in Jordan, and in Palestine also. I know that there's another organization called PAMA. They're delivering masks and things like that into Gaza. So we don't do international work, but we can recommend these organizations because we know them very well, and we know that they help everyone who is in this moment, and who, throughout the years, and who is in disparity. So if you want, you can message me privately, and I can give you the names of those organizations that do work internationally. And I think I don't see anyone wanting to speak, and if this is the last opportunity, but we want to thank all of you for tuning in and spending your Friday afternoon with us. And I hope that you enjoy the holiday weekend. Happy Easter and happy Good Friday and happy Passover. And soon we'll be celebrating Ramadan. And I want to ask for your support. And support can come in so many ways. And one way is by giving us your advice. Send us your feedback. Always keep the doors open, and we'd love to hear from you, and so that we can improve our services. You can pray for us, and we're all playing, we're all in this together, so this is a very tough moment that we're all in, but we'll get through it together. You can recommend us if you know someone who leads a family foundation or something that's giving out grants or something. Connect us to them, and so that we can continue to offer the services that we're doing. And so support, as I mentioned, comes in many ways. You can follow us also in through Facebook, through Twitter, through our Instagram. Share our Facebook posts. We love it. I love to see all the shares when I post something, or one of our staff posts something, our pictures. Spread the awareness. Let your friends and family know about the work that we do, and why it's so imperative right now to support the refugees the refugee work that we're doing. This is part of who we are as Americans. This is part of our shared values, whether you are Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, atheist, no faith. These are our values, and that we want to make sure that we come together and support the most vulnerable of immigrants and refugees in our communities. So I thank you all. We pray for all of us so that we can get through this pandemic, and wishing everyone the best of luck and success. And like I said, happy holidays, and enjoy the weekend, and hope the weather is really beautiful for everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Kara, Jason, who else? Diana, Danny, and everyone who called in, Ayman, SQ, Sachiko, Zaina, all of you, and Brad. Thank you so much. Bye.